So here we go again, Frank. All barriers removed. Is that right? Negotiations have been carrying on behind the scenes. Are you there now?
No, we're not. As you know, on Monday, Tyson said he'd had enough, and I managed to talk him into extending it for another couple of days. So here we are on Thursday. In the meantime, we've done all that's been necessary with BT, DAZN, and ESPN. They're all happy and on term. We're happy and are on board with everything, and just can't wait for the fight to go on. We've given them a contract. They've had it for over 2 weeks and it's still not come back yet. As far as all the tickets, ticketing, the venue, everything's ready to go. We've agreed transparency with them, everything in the pot, everything they needed, co-promotion, the lot. We've bent over backwards, and we've had nothing back. I personally, I had a bet with Tyson that we'd get it done in the next few days, and he didn't fancy. He said no, Joshua doesn't really want the fight, and obviously I've lost the bet. So Joshua, if he said he wanted to fight, let's get it done. I don't understand this. I mean, I remember when they were making the offers to Wilder, they said it doesn't take 6 days to get a fight done. And I agree with them. It doesn't take 6 days, but we've been banging on about it now for 2 weeks and nothing's happening at their end.
Wait, what do you think is the bottom line to this, Frank? Is my understanding that we've reached out to Eddie Hearn and the Joshua and the AJ camp this morning, and it's come back, look, it's promotion day for Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., so can't really do anything. Now, all we need is a bit of a steer in this from Eddie, so why aren't we getting it? I know you're maybe the wrong guy to ask, but what, in your view, why are we not getting even a steer about it?
Look, it's really simple now. We've dealt with every single issue. There aren't any issues. And if there is anything, which we don't know about, it's because they haven't sent the contract back. But as far as we're concerned, as far as everyone's concerned, certainly as far as DAZN is concerned, everybody's happy. So it really boils down to this, in my experience, is Anthony Joshua either wants the fight or he doesn't want the fight. And that's really simply as simple as that. He either fancies it or he doesn't fancy it.
We hear that Joshua wants the fight. I've heard that from a number of different sources, credible sources at that. I mean, how long are you prepared to wait, Frank?
Well, how long can we wait? I mean, I talked Tyson into giving him another 48 hours, and we're now that's from Monday. So we're now Thursday. We've gone past the 48 hours already. Look, we can't go on forever. Tyson's fighting on the 3rd of December, whatever happens. And this is the fight we want. This is the fight that we worked hard to get over the line. My son George has been dealing with Matchroom and as I say, DAZN. We actually dealt direct with DAZN on this. So they were. I mean, they can't wait for the fight. It's a great fight for them, as the same as BT.
Yeah.
So I, for the life of me, do not know what's holding this up.
I mean, Frank, are you now going to push Tyson to one side, which is easier said than done, and apply your own deadline?
I don't know. I don't know how we go past today, to be quite honest. And it's not rocket. I mean, is that the excuse now that they can't do it today because of Conor Benn?
That's what we heard. Well, he can't join us to talk about it.
They can't do it. If they can't put together the biggest fight in boxing history in this country because of that, I mean, it's beyond me. I mean, I thought they were high-powered promoters. I mean, that's
but
not hard.
Frank,
and at the end of the day, all they need to do, the lawyers are not there. Is the lawyer at the media day today? Is he there?
It's a ridiculous observation, Frank. It's a ridiculous observation because we've got Tony Sims in the studio, who's Conor Benn's trainer. So it's a ridiculous observation that Eddie's made by saying, no, it's a media day. And we've got Tony Sims sitting in the studio.
Well, all Eddie said, as we understand it, is that he can't come on and join us to talk about Fury AJ.
But the backstory, Frank, is that I think Tyson's right to push back, because I think a lot of people reacted to Tyson's deadline on Monday and said, well, you never wanted this fight. It's all out of a hullabaloo. And ultimately, deadlines are just you putting it on it to make a fight not happen. And I think people are being silly because deadlines have to be set. Otherwise, you never get anything done. But as far as a contract is concerned, you sent them a contract across. The backstory that I heard was that the contract that you sent across was a load of old rubbish. It was an unworkable contract, and ultimately it needed to be pulled to pieces and put back together again. Now, I'm not going to get into whether that's right or wrong, or whether it was a template from Deontay Wilder's fight, so it was a reasonable contract in the first place. But have you even received a markup back from them to say, we've engaged, we this is what we don't want, this is what we do want, and this is how we'll work? Have you received anything back from Matchroom?
Oh yeah, they've been back. They've been talking to George on it, and they've come back. But we've not had.
But on a markup, Frank, on a contractual position in terms of what you put in front of them.
I understand that nothing's come back redlined. We're waiting now for the contract. That's what we've been waiting for. We've been promised it. They sent back a contract on I think it's about 11:30 on Monday.
Yeah.
And then we went backwards and forwards on that. And since then they've now had to come back again, and they haven't come back. And I've got to say, it's not rocket science. And by the way, you've been involved in this, Simon.
Yep.
You've got a transfer deadline in football
Yep.
on the Premiership on transfers. You move heaven and earth to get it over the line on the deadline. So I don't understand. And it's the only reason this is not going on is because, for me, it can only be that Joshua doesn't want it.
But I'm told from their side, Frank, from a very reliable part, Joshua categorically, unequivocally, as a fighter, wants this fight. But there's a perception, Frank, that the management team round him don't want his mouth writing checks that maybe he can't cash. And the jeopardy is that they want to protect him from a fight that could finish his career.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
You can't legislate for that, can you?
Then they should pull out. If that's the case, then pull out.
But what about this observation, Frank, that there's a backstory that Tyson's got a deal with Usyk that he doesn't fight Joshua because there's too much jeopardy in that fight. Usyk is suggesting that you don't fight Joshua because then we don't make an undisputed in March of next year. Is that complete and utter fiction?
Total garbage. And getting back to your previous point, Simon, at the end of the day, he picks up the bills, Anthony Joshua. He's the boss. Instruct your team. Instruct them. Tell them, like Tyson instructed me. I didn't want to give him 40%. He instructed me. That's what it was. So he's the guy. He's the one who's getting in the ring. If he really wants it, instruct his team. Or tell us what the problem is, because there isn't any problem.
So if we're all agreed everybody wants a fight, Frank, is there somebody in the pot here that doesn't want it? And this is what's holding it up.
Well, I think Simon just said what he's heard. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But all I know is nothing's come back, and such urgency about it today that no one's available. I mean, what is that all about?
I mean, the boxing public, I'm looking at messages in front of me now. It's not as simple as this, I know, Frank, but it would seem that this is all it needs for it to go over the line. Why don't Messrs. Warren and Hearn speak today?
We've been talking for days.
What, you directly with Eddie?
George has been speaking to him direct.
George has been speaking
to him every day.
George has been
extended the deadline. Yes,
so they are engaging, Frank.
Yes,
your son George is engaging with Eddie Hearn.
Correct.
So you now have a marked up contract back as of 11:30 on Monday evening. Is it now back into a shape now where you're at a point now where it's signable?
Yeah, it's been sent back. Yeah.
So
went back the next day.
Has it met their reasonable expectations, or is there still a horse trade going on some of the clauses?
No one's come back to us.
But have you, in terms of the markup they sent back to you, Frank, have you gone through it and go, yeah, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine?
Yeah, we've given joint promotion, we've given transparency, we approved the budgets, everything.
You thought 60-40 was a bit too generous, did you, Frank?
I did.
But Tyson didn't.
Well, Tyson wants to make it happen. He's put the money up there, and that's it. He's the boss.
Whose job, Frank, is it to deliver an outcome on the contract? Matchroom, yes?
Sorry, say it again?
Whose job is it to deliver an outcome from Anthony's side? Is it Matchroom?
Well, I assume that's who he's instructing to do. I don't know. That's who
so in all your experience, because we get accused, right? You come on and everyone likes you, and we get accused of sticking our tongues up your backside and never questioning you properly. But I'm trying to get to the bottom of why this wouldn't be signed. Because no one can make sense of it. Eddie doesn't want to engage. He's perfectly happy to wash his laundry in public when it suits him and doesn't seem to want to do it now. Is there any reason, besides Frank Warren pitching his own woo, that you can see why Matchroom have any justification from not signing this contract? Is there anything that you're not saying that you will say now that we're not asking, that ultimately that someone's missing, that will make the public feel that Frank and Tyson are manipulating the circumstances. Is there anything in this commercial negotiation that doesn't make sense to Matchroom?
Only that they don't fancy the fight.
There
But
you
it's
are.
really simple. Matchroom need to send back the contract, pick up the phone, get the lawyers on a Zoom and work it out today. It's not rocket science, this. It just, as I say, look at it as being the last day of the football transfer season deadline, and that's what you have to do. It's not rocket science.
Is this when I say the clock's ticking, Frank? I suppose I do. All right, the clock's
Yeah,
ticking.
of course I do. How long do you go on for? You can't keep going on. It becomes like the boy who cried wolf.
Well, listen,
we can't keep going on.
Here's the deal, Frank. You know as well enough. If you want to take the opportunity now live in the show, do you want to apply your own deadline right here and now?
No, I don't want to get into that. I want them to pick up the phone today. There's no reason they shouldn't do it. I want them to get the contract across. I want them to get their lawyers on, and let's get on with it. Instruct your lawyers. You can do your press conference in your media day. Just instruct your lawyers to speak to our lawyers, and let's get this over the line. It's not rocket science.
Okay, Frank, listen.
If you don't fancy the fight, if you really don't want the fight, then that's no problem. That's no problem. Then we can move on. If you don't fancy it, maybe you want to fight Joe Joyce, or you may want to fight Daniel Dubois.
Oh, they wouldn't happen to be your fighters, would they, Frank?
Well. Sorry?
They wouldn't happen to be your fighters, would they, Frank?
They would, but also they're both champions. One's an interim champion, and the other one's the WBA regular champion. They're in great positions, and if somebody can beat them, they might up becoming mandatory challengers.
Gosh.
So there you go.
Does it in any way?
He's a fighting man.
Yeah.
He is a fighting man. Fight the champion, the WBC champion. He's there. He's made you an offer. Really, how can you refuse it? If you don't want it, then come out and say so, and we can move on.
There you go. Does it in any way put you off taking up a career in the world of boxing promotion, Frank? Oh no, you have done.
I have, yeah. I think I'm a bit old to do anything else now. But,
Frank, listen, thanks for that. You will come back on and tell us when it's all agreed. Maybe that might be today.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
You never know. Frank Warren, thank you so much. I mean, we're all fed up with it now, aren't we? To be quite honest. But at the end of the day, Frank spelt it out there from their point of view. Just sign it.
The problem is, if you're in a Fury camp, you think he's doing the right thing. If you're in a Joshua camp, i.e. fans, you'll say Fury's playing possum, putting deadlines that people can't achieve. And if you're sitting in our camp, people will say, "Well, you like Frank and you like Tyson, you're a fanboy, so all you see is one dimension." I don't see it from one dimension. I do not know why Eddie Hearn won't speak about it. I do not know why they can't deliver a contract. Well, it does take time to review a contract, but once you've got to the basic principle of the core issue, which is how much money, it then becomes about minutiae, which lawyers' job is to turn it around relatively quickly.
To be honest, without blowing smoke up our own backsides, anyone wants to come on this show and speak. On this occasion, Eddie, for whatever reason, although we've pestered the life out of him, is not coming to air with us at this stage. As you would say, Simon is playing hide and seek with himself. Maybe when he finds himself, he'll pick up the phone and come back to us. Coming up to 10 to 12.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.